Hey y'all, welcome back. Today we're checking out the dream pop enigma of Cocteau Twins and Lorelei. New British Canon.
If you're an indie kid in Britain in the 1980s, there were three main bands. The Smiths, obviously, with Morrissey's Wildian wit and Johnny Marr's iconic jangle. New Order, of course, continuing the legacy of Joy Division into more electronic and danceable territory. And last but not least were the Cocteau Twins, a singular band infused with the swirling, effects-assisted guitar textures of Robin Guthrie and the swooning, ethereal croon of Elizabeth Fraser. Through their 8-album career, they produced some of the most beautifully haunted music in British alternative. One song amid the chiming splendour of 1984's Treasure stands out as their key moment, the perfect sum of their dream pop parts. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of Lorelei.
Lorelei. Okay, y'all, I have heard of Cocteau Twins, but in my head it was Cockatoo Twins, and for some reason I thought I get them mixed up with the band Bananarama because of the hair. There's 3 people in Cocteau Twins. Like, I know nothing about them, but this was recommended to me. I know nothing about Cocteau. I don't remember how to say it again. How do you say it?
With the Cocteau Twins.
Cocteau, toe, foot toe, Cocteau, body parts, Cocteau, body parts. So they're saying Morrissey, the Smiths, New Order, and Cocteau Twins. Okay, I know who Morrissey is, or I know who the Smiths are. I know who the Smiths are. I know who New Order is. Let's learn about Cocteau Twins.
Of their dream pop parts. This is New British Canon, and this is the story of Lorelei.
Okay. The beginning of Cocteau Twins, 1979 to 83, The Heat, 4AD, and Garlands. Song Waxin' Way by Cocteau Twins.
The first rumblings from the Cocteau Twins started in the oil drilling town of Grangemouth in Scotland, 1979. Guitarist
Scottish.
Robin Guthrie and bassist Will Heggie had formed a scrappy drum machine assisted post-punk group called The Heat. Feeling that the name was too basic, they soon changed it to Cocteau Twins, which they borrowed from a work-in-progress song by Simple Minds, who they'd previously supported. But by 1981, the duo felt they were missing something, namely a vocalist in the form of Elizabeth Fraser. We met Liz.
Okay, so there were 2 people at first. Cocteau Twins makes sense. I love that they kept the name even when they got a 3rd person. It reminds me of Ben Folds 5. There were 3 members in Ben Folds 5, but it makes you think there's 5 people. This is great.
We met Liz at this little local club, the Hotel International. I was DJing, playing the birthday party in the pop group.
Whoa.
The noisier, darker stuff from late 1979, 1980. People weren't happy with my choices, but Liz kept dancing. So we struck up a friendship. Liz was insanely shy, but was always singing. I wasn't really surprised when she asked to join in.
So Robin, who was Robin again? Which one is Robin? Guitar player. So he was playing this kind of obscure hardcore music, and most people didn't like it, but Liz kept dancing. She loved it. He said Liz was insanely shy, but she was always singing. I wasn't really surprised when she asked to join in. So she asked to join the band? Or she just asked to join singing? I'm curious what that means.
Though they may have taken initial influence from a mix of contemporaneous post-punks, soon they sounded like no one else. Fraser's voice reached the sky with her cryptic pronunciations.
That's some involved vocals, a lot of harmonies, great tone of her voice too.
While Guthrie's guitar work was augmented by effects of his own invention.
Nice.
I was really into electronics, and so was Will. We were both geeks like that. I was into fuzz boxes and pedals and things like that, and I ended up putting them into my guitar. I also had this idea that I really couldn't play for shit. All my mates would pick up the guitar and would all copy Jimi Hendrix, and I couldn't do that. I also just wanted to sound like something else.
You know, that's the great thing about guitar, and kind of rock music in general, is you can get away with barely playing much at all. You really only need 2 or 3 chords, and if you know 2 or 3 chords on the guitar, you know every chord on the guitar, because it's all patterns. I dig that. It doesn't take much to make music. Like, just because you're not proficient at an instrument doesn't mean you're not an artist. Everyone's an artist. And it probably led him to, obviously, it led him to playing stuff that most people wouldn't play. Most people would pick up a guitar and start playing like blues solos or something. But he turns on the delay and the fuzz and he's just making sounds. Creative. I love it. Way to go, Robin.
Emboldened by a backstage conversation with birthday party drummer Phil Calvert, the group recorded a demo tape twice via a tape recorder and travelled down to London to give one to the birthday party's label, 4AD, and one to indie godhead, John Peel. Within 3 months, the band would have recorded their first album with 4AD and played their first session with John Peel. Initially, 4AD's founder, Ivo Watts-Russell, had agreed to release a single from the band based on the poorly recorded demo tape. Thing was that the 2 key elements that made the Cocteau Twins great were muffled on the tape. Hearing Fraser sing and Guthrie play guitar convinced Watts-Russell that they needed to go straight to the album stage. The result was 1982's Garlands, their most proto-gothic effort. It also started
that guitar doesn't sound like a guitar. I mean, it sort of does, but that's out there.
It also started their ongoing antagonism with the music press, who quickly marked the Cocteaus as Susie and the Banshees clones. Beyond slights from the enemy, Guthrie was really unhappy with how Garlands turned out. With the experience, a constant battle with studio engineers on how to record their singular sound. One of the things we had done on the demo and used to do playing live was to put our drum box through fuzz pedals and guitar amps, so that it came out sounding really mashed up, which was what the hip-hop guys came up with a couple of years later. When we got to the studio, there were all these technicians who were like, oh no, you can't do this stuff.
That happens a lot, I think. I can see both sides of this debate, because as an engineer, you want to capture the cleanest signal possible. If you don't, you could get fired, you know? So they're kind of looking out for their own jobs. They want to make a good sounding recording, but that conflicts with someone who wants to like purposefully grunge up the recording. I get it. But then you have the record label chiming in and they want to sell records, so they got to make it pleasing to the ear. I get it. I get both sides of this.
Got to the studio, there were all these technicians who were like, oh no, you can't do this stuff. This drove Guthrie to make sure that on future recordings, he would have as much control as possible. Early tours with fellow 4AD acts, The Birthday Party and Modern English followed, before a support slot on OMD's 1983 European tour truly made them known.
I love that the Birthday Party guy recommended that they record something and send it to their label. I think that shows this guy, the drummer, Phil Calvert. Phil, way to go. Like, he didn't feel any competition with them. He's like, hey, you know what? You should give this to our label. Like, they might like it. That seems rare, you know? I feel like if Phil was not as confident in his own musical ventures, that he would not have made that recommendation.
Exhausted and homesick, Heggie departed soon after. Despite losing a member, things were looking up for the Cocteaus, not least because Guthrie and Fraser had started dating.
Oh no. Y'all, this never works out well. I can't say that. Eurythmics handled it well. Let's see how this ends up.
Guthrie so concisely concluded of the period. We were young and in love. We just moved to London. People were saying how great we were, which fueled us. As did Loads of Speed.
Oh no.
Within 6 months, they'd released their sophomore album, Head Over Heels,
6
which
months
moved
later?
the band closer to the dream pop sound that would be their trademark. But it would be a side project the same year that first got Fraser and Guthrie radio airplay.
That sounds very... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Wait, what? Oh? Oh. I see where they're going. See, these two last song samples sounded very 80s. I can see how they were influential. Lots of big reverbs, effects, electronic drums, guitars with all this spaciness around it. I get it.
But it would be a side project the same year that first got Fraser and Guthrie radio airplay.
Oh.
In September 1983, Song to the Siren was released.
That's a side project?
It was a cover of an old Tim Buckley ballad from 1968.
Sail to me, let me enfold you.
Okay.
Covered by Fraser and Guthrie in the guise of This Mortal Coil.
Why?
A supergroup of musicians associated with the 4AD label,
Okay.
devised by Ivo Watts Russell. That was originally meant to be a B-side. It was released as a 7-inch and became the duo's biggest hit so far, reaching number 66 in the UK singles charts and number 2 on the indie chart. It confused the momentum that the Cocteaus had built up thus far, overshadowing their Head Over Heels album in the process. I was really sick when I heard it played on the radio all the time, and the Cocteaus had never been played. So the only way we could get played on the radio was to do somebody else's song under a different name.
That's gotta be so frustrating. I mean, the success is great. Oh, darn it. They did this one-off song with some of their label mates, and that became a hit. At least it's getting them some exposure, you know? I guess. And maybe some money. I think it's a good thing. I think it's gonna lead to a good thing, right? I think this is good.
The duo had appeared on the BBC show Loose Talk to perform Song to the Siren.
Here I am.
And 4AD had also made a music video for the track, which made the band immensely uncomfortable. Coming into 1984, multi-instrumentalist Simon Raymond had filled the void left by Heggie, with the band wanting to get some radio play behind the Cocteau Twins' name. They released the Spangle Maker EP with the lead track Pearly Dewdrops Drops as the first conscious attempt at writing a pop single. The EP was one of the first that 4AD had allowed Guthrie free reign on production. Despite this, the 7-inch version was remixed under Watts Russell's supervision, with more prominent drums and hi-hat to increase its commercial potential. Guthrie.
Wait, okay. Let me hear the other. Is this the same one?
Guthrie.
Those two samples sounded like the same mix to me. You know what's interesting is whenever a member of the band is in charge of the production, whatever instrument that band member plays or contributes is usually louder, just a little bit louder than it should normally be. And I don't think it's on purpose, and I don't think it's an ego thing. I think it's because whenever they're playing, they focus on their part. So then whenever they hear the mix and their part is a little bit further back than what they're used to paying attention to, they want to bring that part forward more. And it comes off as like ego, but it's not. It's a perception thing. And I feel like maybe it was happening here because... Maybe not.
Guthrie was left...
Maybe not. I take that back. Let me hear it, the first one again. No. The vocals are very loud. I take that back. I commend him, Guthrie, for not doing that.
Guthrie was less than happy with the remix, believing it to be unbalanced. But it served its purpose and reached number 29 in the UK charts and became the Twins and 4AD's biggest hit thus far. The band have never thought of it as their best work, said Simon Ramond. The EP was brilliant, but we played Pearly Dewdrops Drops so many times, it turned into the silly pop single. Despite having achieved a top 40 hit, they weren't going to play the pop music game. Interviews, which they never liked in the first place, became a passive-aggressive uphill battle. They refused permission for smash hits to print their hits lyrics.
They're working against the system. Oh, he hasn't said this yet, but it looks like they rejected 2 separate requests to appear on Top of the Pops. Cocteau, get on that Top of the Pops. See, this is a struggle in the music industry, in entertainment in general. But it is pretty rock star of them to be like, no, we're not going to play Top of the Pops. No.
And most shocking of all, rejected 2 separate requests to appear on Top of the Pops.
Wow.
We couldn't do it. We physically couldn't do it.
Why?
Could you do it?
Yeah.
Get up on that stage full of balloons and dancing girls and flashing lights, mime along to your record? You can't do that kind of thing. They eventually made an exceedingly po-faced video for the single, but only as it was the lesser of 2 evils. Every other television appearance they would make, they would play live. But to capture this newfound interest in the band, they would need to record an album quickly.
Okay, I respect them. I really respect them for making that choice. It sucks when an artist who's really great, it doesn't suck. It sucks for the artist to have all these visions of what they want to do artistically, and then when the business side gets into it, it totally changes everything. It can be heartbreaking, I think. It probably feels really detached for them and cheap, and like Top of the Pops would cheapen their artistic integrity, requiring them to lip sync. I've never done that, so I don't know exactly what that would feel like, but I imagine if you're coming from clubs, playing clubs and shows where you're actually playing, it would take some, gotta eat some to really get ahead. And, that sucks. It would have been great to see them do Top of the Pops, but somehow subvert the lip syncing thing by doing a bad job of lip syncing, like some other groups did later on Top of the Pops, or turn it into a joke. And I feel like in this stage of their career, they're probably learning that really tough lessons that a lot of artists have to learn the hard way, that in the music industry, the music is just a tiny little percentage of what it's all about. The rest of it is business, marketing, and really shallow feeling things that you have to do. Let's see where this goes.
They would need to record an album quickly.
The recording of Treasure and Lorelei. Brian Eno? Oh, I know who Brian Eno is. Okay, Syllables and the Drumulator Rock Chip. So they're hooking up with Brian Eno. That's a good thing.
As Cocteau Twins were clearly in ascent, Watts Russell wanted to get the band in with a big-name producer for their next record. The most obvious name to produce their layered ambience was the guy that invented the ambient genre and orchestrated the layered swirls of David Bowie's heroes, Brian Eno. Said Simon Ramond, Liz and I thought it was a decent idea, Eno being one of the great producers of our time. But when we met him, Robin was in one of his particularly antagonistic moods.
Robin?
Eno finished by saying, "You don't need a producer. You know exactly how your music is meant to sound like. You should do it yourself." Robin was like, "Yep, told you so." He wasn't ready to relinquish control of his baby, and he was probably right.
That seems like a very politically correct way for Brian Eno to say no, to reject them without making them feel bad. It's not me, it's you. Or no, it's not you, it's me. You don't need me. But I mean, on some level, I think he's right. Robin does have a very specific way he wants things to sound. I'm surprised, though, like, what is Robin wanting to get out of this? Why hasn't he finished with the music industry yet? You know? He's still trying to climb that ladder towards something that I think is going to make him miserable. Like, if this next song pops off, he's going to be so depressed. Top of the Pops is going to call. He's going to be like, no.
The band set up in Palladium Studios in Edinburgh, their studio of choice since 1982's Lullabies EP. But with a finite amount of studio time, a snowbound studio, and no songs already written for the project, the band were flustered by the limitations.
They're going into the studio with no songs written. See, why didn't people do that? As an engineer, from an engineer's standpoint, it's a waste of time and a waste of money. I can kind of, I understand the desire to make the recording process a creative thing and wanting to draw inspiration in the moment and then getting that down on tape. And I can understand the business side of this, like, let's just get in the studio and you'll come up with it. I don't think that usually works out. Sometimes it does. Apparently they're about to make one of their biggest songs, so good for them. And it worked for the Beatles. They would just show up. One of them had written a song, or see, they showed up with songs. Although they would write songs in the studio too, but they're the Beatles, y'all. From an engineer's perspective, it's usually best when a band writes all the songs already, even has rehearsals together, learning the songs, developing the songs, and trying different things before they ever come into the actual studio. Even record demos where they try different parts, plan out their guitar solos or harmony vocals. Like, that's the creative moment, right? And then whenever you go into the actual $3,000 a day studio, it's more like you're documenting the song. These songs have already been written, they've already been planned out, and you're just playing them. Maybe you come up with another one while you're there, you know? You don't have to stop writing songs. You've got the peace of mind knowing you've got some in the catalog ready to go. You're not wasting time. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. And watch them prove me wrong.
The recording was half enjoyable and half stressful,
See?
up until the last week booked, when we didn't think it was finished. We don't work best under that pressure, but we knew our future was being determined by that record.
Ooh.
I always hear Treasure as half finished. Due to the time pressure, Fraser, for the first time, had trouble finding the right lyrics to the songs. It got so bad, Watts Russell went as far as attempting to remedy this by going through the dictionary to inspire her. Because of this though, Treasure is the first work by the Cocteaus where Fraser would start using words more phonetically, abandoning their literal meaning and converting them to syllables. This extends to the song.
Ooh, that's trippy. It's almost like a different art form. The band Red Hot Chili Peppers, for a long time, thought their lyrics are pretty out there. And Nirvana's too. It's not like a lot of their songs, Nirvana and later Chili Peppers, their lyrics seem like gibberish, but I heard about an interview with Anthony Kiedis, who's the singer for the Chili Peppers, and he was saying that, you know, most songs are about love, and that's fine, but at some point you get tired of trying to come up with love songs or like lyrics that mean exactly what they say. And he's found that it's a deeper level of expression to write lyrics that are more like a Jackson Pollock painting, where it's more like expressionism, or is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Like a crazy painting. You know what I'm talking about. And when you put it like that, it's like, oh, okay, yeah. It's a different level of creativity.
This extends to the song names, all on Treasure titled after exotic first names. For example, on Lorelei.
This recording is odd. When I'm listening to the timbre of it,
On Lorelei.
It's odd. It's an odd sound. Yeah, I can see why engineers were like, whoa, you can't do that. It doesn't sound like it's properly mixed, but that's how they wanted it, I bet. There's a lack of low-end energy that I'm feeling, like the bass, the kick drum.
Which is named after a siren of Germanic mythology. It's unknown whether the title has any meaning within the song. Is it actually about that, or is that a reference to herself, oft described as a foreign siren? Or is it a reference to the cover that made herself known? Or none of the above, with Fraser's limited interviews and hesitance to talk about where the songs came from? We may never know. Instead of a vessel for all too literal prose, a distraction from the ambience of the music, Fraser's voice acts as an instrument in its own right, adding texture with its heavenly quality. In interviews since, Guthrie has described his idea for the sound of the Cocteaus was to be that of a noisy punk rock, full spectre pop band, and Lorelei is his clearest vision of this idea. Cloaked in walls of reverb sound, complete with a muscular bass line, Christmas-evoking bells.
I need more bass. And
Fraser's overlaid, whispered, sighing vocals, being all members of the Ronettes in one. Fellow Scots, the Jesus and Mary Chain, followed the same reverb-drenched Be My Baby Brief a year later and produced the equally wondrous Just Like Honey.
It does sound similar.
What's surprising when watching the band play Lorelei on the Old Grey Whistle test is how little Guthrie is doing on guitar to create the multi-layer sounds that runs through the track. Most of the verse is conjured by picking one chord. Oftentimes this would be a matter of experimentation on Guthrie's part. I just hate taking any instrument at all, be it a guitar or synthesizer, and not screwing it up. I mean, we never use any sort of straight instruments really. I always think it's much more interesting to fuck them up. You know, stick them through millions of things and see what happens. By this point, Guthrie had phased out the Linn drum machine that he'd bought with Heggie for the EMU drumulator with Rock Drums chip. The add-on utilised samples of Led Zeppelin's John Bonham's drum hits.
Ooh.
This can be heard throughout Treasure.
Wow.
But this
Yeah, so in a way, John Bonham played drums for Cocteau Twins. Wild.
But this became the sound of mid-80s British synth pop.
Yeah. Yeah, it did.
As such, not wanting to be compared to those chart groups, Guthrie felt like the record sounded immediately dated, causing greater disappointment with the album.
He's never happy. Robin. I think Robin needs a hug, y'all. I feel so sorry for him. He's a tortured artist. Maybe music wasn't the art for him, you know? Maybe he needed... I mean, he's probably ahead of his time. It's probably some technology that would have satisfied him that wasn't around at the time.
As he neatly summed up to Select in 1990, Treasure is just an abortion.
Whoa. The lasting influence of Cocteau Twins. 1984 mixtapes, dream pop, and shoegaze.
Treasure was released at the beginning of November 1984. The band may have hated it, but the kids, they loved it. The record became their biggest selling thus far, getting to the top 30 of the UK album chart, and even topping the UK independent chart. The Cure's Robert Smith was immediately smitten with the album.
I could probably play most of Treasure, and I've never sat down and learnt it, but I know it so well. That was the album I played as I was getting ready for my wedding. It's the most romantic sound I'd ever heard.
Though no singles were released from the album, Lorelei became a standout within their catalogue, a live favourite and an underground hit in its own right, while New Order and the Smiths were writing anthems. This understated Cocteau's tune made its silky way onto student disco playlists, alongside Blue Monday and How Soon Is Now. Its stuttered confessions of sounded from 1,000 heartfelt indie mixtapes. Pitchfork in particular are keen to sing the song's praises, creating something of such otherworldly beauty. It felt incredible that mere human beings could have been involved in its creation. After Treasure, the band continued on, releasing at a prolific rate, finally producing something they were personally proud of with 1988's Bluebell Knoll, before their commercial height, 1990's Heaven or Las Vegas, being their last album with 4AD.
Wait, so they did make an album finally that they were okay with. Which one was it?
Finally producing something they were personally proud of with 1988's Bluebell Knoll, before their commercial height, 1990's Heaven or Las Vegas, being their last album with 4AD. Around 1993, Fraser and Guthrie broke up after 10 years and having a child together.
They had a baby.
On the same year's 4 Calendar Cafe, Fraser's lyrics dwelt on just that, and to make sure people understood, it was their first album since their debut to include a lyric sheet. Cocteau Twins continued for another 4 years before finally calling it quits in '97. But
they made it a long time. I didn't think they would last that long. That's a healthy career. They had a baby? Good for them. Wow.
But as much as their music has stood the test of time, their real power is in their influence. 2 distinct but important genres spawned from the music of the Cocteau Twins.
Wow.
On one side, with its ethereal vocals and ambience-layered backing, came dream pop. Bands as far-reaching as the Sugar Cubes, Lush, Mazzy Star, Grimes, Chromatics, and Beach House, being inspired by that part of the band. On the other side was shoegaze, inspired by Guthrie's audio obsession for pedals, noise, and smashing up and inverting layers of reverbed guitar. Alongside the Jesus and Mary chain, the band led My Bloody Valentine, Swerve Driver, Ride, and Slow Dive to explore sonic cathedrals of sound, inspiring countless others in turn.
Smashing
Robin
Pumpkins,
Guthrie has since gone solo, Simon Ramond has formed his own indie label, and Elizabeth Fraser has supplied guest vocals on rare occasions. The band were due to reform in 2005 to headline Coachella. Weeks before it was supposed to happen, Fraser decided against it. Reliving the past was too painful. She couldn't face being on stage with Guthrie again. And because of that, they will always be what they were. Whatever they meant to those that loved them at the time, those that have discovered them since. While they were one of the 3 pillars of British alternative music in the 80s, they stood apart from New Order and the Smiths. Because despite being willfully opaque in both their lyricism and interview, for those that listened, they meant everything. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Y'all be sure to go to Trash Theory and like and subscribe. This was great. Like I said, I didn't know anything about Cocteau Twins. I didn't even know how to pronounce the name. I want to listen to that Bell Knoll album. Bluebell Knoll. Curious. This sounds much better. Oh, wow. Okay. So I just listened to some of Bluebell Knoll on iTunes, and it sounds much better than it did in this video. It actually sounds amazing. The song Athoy Bros? Atai Bros? But it sounds really good. It sounds ahead of its time. It sounds like it could have been recorded last week. I feel so stupid because when someone first recommended that I react to a video about Cocteau Twins, I was thinking Bananarama. Totally different. What an amazing story. I'm impressed. I want to hear another album. What's their top song on iTunes? So Dreamy. So dreamy and spacey. Actually, like, really beautiful. That's amazing. I wish they would get back together. I'm sorry that their relationship kind of complicates things. They're Scottish. Let's just see what's going on now. Post-breakup. In January 2005, Cocteau Twins announced that they would be reforming to perform at the Coachella, and later indicated that additional tour dates would be added, but then they canceled. Raymond revealed that the band had also booked a 55-day world tour, which would have paid them £1.5 million, but they backed out of it. Since March 2007, the band has started podcasts of exclusive material. In 2022, Fraser, Guthrie, and Raymond were awarded with the Visionary Award by the Ivors Academy. And they're doing solo work. That's good. I hope they're making money. I hope they don't have to go into, 9-to-5 jobs. Good for them. I hope they find what they're looking for. I hope they find some artistic satisfaction. I know it's tough. Yeah, I learned about this band I never heard of. I mean, I'd heard of them, but I didn't know. I didn't know. I definitely have heard of bands that they influenced. Well, this was a really good video. Thank y'all for watching this with me. Be sure to give Trash Theory a like and subscribe. And if you made it this far, give me a like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I'd like to thank my patrons. And thank y'all for watching this with me. And I'll see you next time. Later.